Hey, everybody, we are live. I feel like Andrew Mason right now because I'm on assignment at Colorado State Pro Day. Woo! We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But, Mace, over the weekend on Saturday, the Pittsburgh Steelers got their quarterback of the future, maybe, and it's got Broncos country and wondering why it couldn't work in Denver with Justin Fields.
Okay, it wasn't going to work because you just paid $85 million in dead cap money to jettison a quarterback whose strength was beyond structure ability, beyond play structure ability. So you were going to turn around and get another guy whose strengths were very similar, also in beyond structure ability. That's not what Sean Payton is looking for his offense. He's looking for somebody who can be a rhythm and timing passer. And based on what we've seen from Justin Fields to date, he's not that right now. I mean, it sounds nice, like in a vacuum, but when it confronts with the reality of what the Broncos are trying to do schematically, this was never going to happen.
Wouldn't it just create more drama as well, Mace? Like, you bring in Fields, and you and I both believe in his talent. We just don't believe he's a good fit for Sean Payton. So you bring him in, and now there's, I don't know, faux controversy of like, well, you got to play him sometime, and you're drafting McCarthy or May or Bo Nix or whoever. So it almost creates more drama, if you will.
Well, at that point, then does Justin Fields become the bridge if you draft one of those guys? Or would he have become somebody that would cause you to not draft one of those quarterbacks at all? I mean, these are the things that come into play with Justin Fields. But the bigger thing is fit. You always say it. Fit matters. It's the most important thing. And what the Broncos are trying to accomplish on offense, Justin Fields, even though I like his skills, and if the Broncos were doing something different schematically, absolutely, I think they should have brought him in. But that's not the world in which we live right now. He would have been very affordable, but they're looking for something different. Whether you like it or not as a viewer, that's up to you. But this is what the Broncos are thinking.
Well, does it seem like they have a plan then? I'm not going to say the Steelers don't have a plan, and certainly we'll be talking to Mike Tomlin at the owners' meetings next week, but like, okay, their plan is just more darts. Russ doesn't work, Justin works, then whatever, and they got rid of Kenny Pickett. But with the Broncos, and again, I feel like I'm always asking this question, but did they just have it, their idea of who they want, and they don't want Fields or anybody else to interrupt that plan of that young quarterback perhaps playing pretty soon?
Perhaps. I also would not dismiss that Sean Payton does have more belief in Jarrett Stidham than you do, Cecil, than I do, than all of you out there watching this show. That he does believe that there's a chance that Jarrett Stidham can become something, and at minimum can be a bridge to whatever the long-term plan is. But yeah, I think that's also something that comes into play, that it's another layer, even though you and I talk about how you'd feel better if you had somebody else in there. And look, if they were feeling that good about Jarrett Stidham, would they have investigated Sam Darnold and considered bringing him in before the price tag got too high? Would they have inquired about Kirk Cousins? And that was something that Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated reported this morning, that George Payton reached out to Kirk Cousins' agent, said, hey, if the price, it doesn't reach a certain point, we would be interested. Of course, Kirk Cousins ended up taking a massive deal from Atlanta that was going to be well beyond the Broncos' budget. But we've seen at least those things that show that the Broncos aren't completely satisfied with Jarrett Stidham, no matter what they end up doing in the draft.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was Pro Football Talk had it over the weekend. Like, it just might be Jarrett Stidham and a rookie, and people lost their mind. It's like, well, okay, but who's the rookie and when does he start? That's all I want to know, Mace. At the CSU Pro Day, people ask me about Broncos. Like, that's all anybody wants to know. Who's the quarterback going to be, and how fast can he get out there?
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't want to rush that quarterback out there. But that being said, the best quarterback may not be the one that's available to you, may not be the one who's the most ready. Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, if you are willing to move up, if you can move up, It might not be possible now with Minnesota building ammunition. Minnesota can put together a better package to move up than the Broncos can, period, because they made that deal with Houston late last week. So the only way the Broncos could trump that, frankly, is by including Pat Surtain. And every indication is they're not going to trade Pat Surtain. They want him back long term, which is why I think a lot of the conversation and a lot of the speculation now is justifiably on Bo Nix as a potential Broncos quarterback. And JJ McCarthy, Drake May, these may be more pipe dreams, even though I did see a mock draft that had Drake May falling to 8 and the Broncos trading up with the Falcons to get him. That would be pretty awesome if it worked out that way. But I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think you're going to see 4 quarterbacks in the first 6 picks of this draft. And then the Broncos, it's a question of, do they take Bo Nix at 12 or do they move down and maybe try to get him later? Or do they even go into the day 2 pool and see if they can get their quarterback? That's where it stands.
Yeah, and I would be careful with that as my headset dies here. So I hope you can hear me. If not, then we'll figure it out. But for me with Bo Nix, Mace, if that's the guy, then he's the guy. Like, go get the guy and make sure it's a live show, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you can hear me now. I hope you can hear me better now.
You're gonna, well, now you're really soft, so you're gonna have to hold that right up to your lips.
Right up to my lips. Okay, I will.
Okay.
To my lips, like I'm doing.
And project. You got to project louder.
I can project for Andrew Mason because you're my guy. And I will say this with Bo Nix, as long as you can hear me. With Bo Nix, the thing is, get him. Don't move back to 15 or 20 or anything like that. If he's the guy that you've identified and you're not able to get these other guys, I say just take him at 12. 12's about where he should go anyway, my opinion, Mason.
Yeah, I get the temptation to move down because, hey, what if you get Bo Nix and somebody else? What if you get Bo Nix and a second round pick that you don't have? But if you've decided Bo Nix is the one who can step in, and oh, by the way, he might be ready sooner than Drake May or JJ McCarthy. With Bo Nix, probably the upside is a little bit less, but the readiness to play immediately might be greater, to where I would give Bo Nix a puncture's chance of being the week 1 starter if he's with this team. And in that case, and if that happens, then the Briggs, you're not worried. It's just all about Bo, right? That being said, I'm not very comfortable waiting on the whims of the draft and the whims of other teams. If he is your guy, if you've decided that, just go get him. Because the other thing that happens is if you start moving down, you sort of create a muddled message, right? Like if you move down and pick him, specifically the quarterback position, it's, well, did you really want him anyway? You kind of passed on him there. It's it's going back to Drew Lock 5 years ago. A lot of people had Drew Lock going in round 1. Broncos effectively passed on him 1, 2, 3 times. At 10, trade down. 20, pick Noah Fant. And then early in the second round, pick Dalton Reisner before they got in position to take Drew Lock. And when you get passed on like that, that's something less than a mandate.
Don't send mixed messages, right? As long as I'm projecting and you're able to hear me enough, I hope it's okay. But don't send the mixed messages. And also, Mace, if you start Nix from day 1 because he's ready, don't start him when he's not ready. But Bo Nix is most likely going to be readier, faster than Jason McCarthy. Start him, honestly, 2 years. If he's not the guy, you can do this again. I don't know if Sean Payton wants to do that, but the faster you can know about your first rounder, the better it is for your team because you're not sitting there waiting on the next guy.
Yeah, and you're also eating the big cap money, dead cap money figure this year. Once Russell Wilson's dead money gets accounted for, it's going to be a dead money figure of $67 million, which I believe is going to lead the league. Next year, it's still going to be a dead money figure for Russell Wilson on $32 million, but you're not going to be talking about a league-leading dead money figure. You're going to be talking about something that's probably somewhere in the middle of the pack league-wide. Remember last year, the average dead money figure was $38 million for your entire team. So that becomes something in terms of team construction you can very easily build around and get pieces around the quarterback. So basically what you do is, if it's Bo Nix, this year is about kind of laying the groundwork, getting him comfortable. Oh, by the way, and we're sitting here today on March 18th, and Garett Bolles is still a Denver Bronco. So I'd say the chances are excellent that Garett Bolles will remain a Denver Bronco and be your starting left tackle in week 1.
I think that's good news for the Denver Broncos. Now move on.
And good news for Bo Nix if he's the quarterback, because that means the only thing that you're worried about is center. And oh, by the way, if Bo Nix is the quarterback, there's a good chance that he'd be looking at the center as somebody he knows very well in Alex Forsyth, because the two were teammates at Oregon.
Yeah, and I would say, Mace, especially if it is Bo Nix, for me, centers, I'm not really worried about center. If it's Wattenberg or Forsyth, maybe fans don't agree with me, but where's the worry for you on center? Because it's not much of a concern for me with Forsyth there and Wattenberg there.
Well, they're both smart players, but at the same time, getting everything right pre-snap, that's still something that's going to take some time to learn. That being said, if it's Bo Nix, you're not worried about the timing between the center and the quarterback, especially if it's Alex Forsyth. And oh, by the way, if you're getting into that rhythm and timing-based offense, then your IDs on protections, they're important, but you're basically going to, what you're having to look for is the rusher coming up the A-gap, and then it's a little bit on the quarterback as well. Make sure that the running back is in position to pick up that blitz. So Bo Nix could go 1-2, deliver.
1-2, deliver. And also I'll throw in something, Mace, not because of my question, but because of my question. He's not going to be under center that much, or it'll be a work in progress, shall we say, for him to be under center. So if it's Forsyth snapping into it in the shotgun, yeah, what's he in the shotgun? 60% of the time as a pro, especially early on as he works on his under center skill, I think it would make sense.
60% of the time, it works every time, right?
Thank you, Andrew Mason. I need you in my life.
It looks like you need a little levity. It looks like you're just barely hanging on right now.
Oh my God, it's been an adventure, and I'll be in Laramie tomorrow for the Wyoming Pro Day. But yeah, the Fields thing, I know your Twitter probably blew up over the weekend. Everyone's asking me because I'm a Steelers fan. I'm not really a Steelers fan because you can't be a fan of any team when you do this job. But it makes sense for them. It does not make sense for Sean Payton. And I wanted us to address that because I know a lot of fans saw the price and they're like, why couldn't Denver do that?
So let me ask you this then. We've got the slide on the opening of the show says this could have worked. Do you believe it really could have worked?
There's part of me that does a little bit because I believe in Justin Fields. I think you and I look at him accurately. No one's ever believed in him. No one's ever set him up. And to say oh, he's a bust or he can't play, we don't know yet. So could have it had worked? Yes. Maybe it wouldn't have been as smooth, or maybe it would have taken too long. Remember, Sean Payton has his on-ramp. Sean Payton has an idea of when he wants to be productive, and maybe just maybe that wasn't going to be on the same schedule of where Justin Fields would need to be when Payton wanted to be productive.
Well, the other thing also on Justin Fields is, remember that Ryan Pace drafted him in 2021, and then a few months later, subsequently dismissed by the Chicago Bears, right? So Ryan Pace drafts him. Matt Nagy is his coach his first year, and then in year 2, Pace is gone, Nagy is gone, replaced by Matt Eberflus. So here you have Justin Fields goes into year 2, and it's a new administration running the show. There hasn't been alignment. Whereas one thing you can say here, first of all, Sean Payton, he's the period that ends all sentences. All respect to George Payton, but this is Sean Payton's show. All right? Let's make that clear. And thus, you're talking about a situation where the head coach, who effectively is in charge of everything, the head coach has a lot of hand within the organization based upon how the team did last year. Not so much just going from 5 wins to 8 wins, but also how a lot of the detritus and a lot of the crapola that defined that 2022 season with Nathaniel Hackett was excised. You had a far more cohesive, not just talking about team, I'm talking about operation, which goes beyond the team, beyond the locker room, to nutrition, to the training room, players staying healthier, strength and conditioning. The entire operation was smoother. And so thus, Sean Payton, even though he didn't get to the playoffs last year, he's got a mandate. And when you've got a mandate, you can be patient. And that means you can be patient through this first week of free agency that only sees the Broncos bring in Brandon Jones, Malcolm Roach, and Cody Barton in terms of players from the outside. And you don't have to pounce on the quarterback. You can wait and see. And assuming you draft a quarterback next month, you can be patient with that quarterback's development as well. If you believe in that quarterback, then you can take your time.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Take your time, do it right. We can do it, baby.
Oh my!
Do it tonight.
That's disco. I didn't know you were a disco guy.
I mean, I do have Kiss Dynasty on LP, but anyway, it's today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. My God, what a day! I will be at Wyoming's Pro Day because Easton Gibbs, who had a 3-hour meeting with George Payton, I broke that on the show last week. But now with the Cody Barton thing, Mace, you and I haven't talked about that yet because that happens. And, over the weekend, we got to make a move. Got to talk about it on this show. Does the Barton move take him out of Easton Gibbs, who seemed like almost a lock for a day 3 pick for the Broncos?
Not really, but the thing is, you can't. There is no such thing as a day 3 lock because there's too much that can happen between the start of the draft and when day 3 begins. There's no such thing as a day 3 lock in the draft because of the number of variables involved. That being said, let's look at the contract situation, right? Alex Singleton, 2nd year of a 2-year contract. Cody Barton, 1-year deal. So if you don't get Easton Gibbs, you're fine. And maybe you wouldn't have necessarily wanted Easton Gibbs to start in year 1 anyway. But I would say what this does do, if Gibbs is still a player you're targeting, this doesn't change a lot in that regard, especially if we are continuing to talk about the notion of Drew Sanders being an edge rather than inside linebacker. That's another thing. If Drew's going to the edge rather than staying an inside backer, then it's very much still in play for Easton Gibbs to be a Denver Bronco on day 3. But again, the Broncos aren't the only team that's going to be pursuing him. That's why you can't sit there and say, oh, we know we're going to get a guy on day 3. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not when there are literally triple-digit picks before you're getting to day 3.
Yeah, it always takes one team. That's it. Mm-hmm. And 28 teams were here in Fort Collins at CSU's Pro Day.
28. Wow, there you go.
Yeah, and the Broncos were well represented. And I think because they have late-round corner on their mind, the guy that crushed it, and you and I got some great footage of him from the Shrine Bowl, but Chigozie Anuzium, he crushed it today. Mm-hmm. You saw Mo Kamara set on all of the stuff he did at the combine. So no 40, no bench press, no vertical. Dallin Holker had the had the bench, had the 40, stuff mm-hmm. like that. Holker, 4'6", 4'5'9". That's where I timed him on his 40.
That's fine.
But I look at Chigozie Anuzium. Get used to the name because that CSU kid showed out today. The best day of any player here in Fort Collins.
Wow, that's impressive. And looking at the Broncos' needs, they could use cornerback depth. I don't think it's wise to go corner early, and even though there are some intriguing pieces there. But this year, I think it's about finding out what Riley Moss has, and if not, beginning to develop some depth behind him. I think you will see a day 3 corner. Would not surprise me if this is somebody the Broncos have on their list.
Okay. Mace, how are you?
I'm great, man. Yeah.
All right. That's all good. I know mm-hmm. We've got a busy schedule next week with owners meetings. We'll bring you all the latest on Orange and Blue today. I'll be somewhere tomorrow. Wyoming's Pro Day starts at 8 a.m.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You're not. Tell me that you're not coming back down, that you're just going to stay up there.
I'm totally not coming back down.
That's a lot of driving, man.
Well, we'll see. I'll go get a hotel. I think I learned over this last year of like sleeping in airports and sleeping in my car and like just doing whatever to make it work. I'm like, nah, I think it's hotel time and it's nap time, Mace. Most importantly, when you get my age, naps become a very important part of your day.
I've been napping since I was in high school. I am a firm proponent of the siesta culture. Like, if we were like Spain and we shut down for 2 hours at midday, fine by me. I'll work a little bit later into the evening. I'm more of a night owl anyway. If I could take 2 hours every day at midday, I would absolutely love it. Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
Why can't we do it my way, the way I want it?
Yeah, the Festivus for the rest of us anyway.
Yes.
He's Anthony Mason. We'll wrap up today's show. Thanks everyone for working with me through this entire production. And it has been a production. Anyway, Mace, you're very forgiving. Joey, I'm sorry if I yelled at you, Joey. I can't remember if I did. Anyway, kind of blacked out doing the show. So here we go. Let's make it happen on YouTube, Mace. How do you do that?
We're going to alternate. You just want me to take it since you're kind of.
Yeah, let's have you take it.
All right. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT is a BFD. Thanks, Starbucks Wi-Fi. Thanks, Fort Collins. Thank you all for helping us out on YouTube. Stay tuned and stay frosty.